3 seconds remaining. The yellow light will go on.
Hi, Sherry Smart. I'm a resident of Sarasota County, but I'm here at the request of some Charlotte residents. I have a local blog talk radio show. I write articles for Watchdog Wire, and I publish a little grassroots newspaper. The reason they called me is they wanted me to witness a water sampling that they took last July. So I said, okay, that's fine. I'll witness it. They were very concerned about the waterway. So we took the water sample. I witnessed it. We put it on ice, and we drove it up to Northport to be tested, all on their dime. It did not cost the taxpayers of Charlotte County anything. Their concern is that this is developing, it seems to me, to be a real health hazard. Before, I think it was a money issue for cleaning it up, but now you've got some people that are seriously ill. And some of the documents that I've looked at and some doctors' comments have been that toxins can acquire in your liver and stay there for up to 50 years. Well, you and I probably won't be here in 50 years. But what about the children that are playing around that area right now? So when we're 65, 70, and they develop something, are they going to look back at you and say, what did you do? Why wasn't this cleaned up when you had notification? You could have cleaned it up for a very minimal cost several years ago. And now the cost is exploding. But more than the cost is the health. So I'm not blaming you. You guys are elected. You're the government. But I would look at staff very seriously. You know, we have a lot of people that we like. It's not a personality issue. It's a public policy issue. So if you have staff that's not competent, then it's up to you to do that. And it has nothing to do with personalities. It has everything to do with what's right. So thank you so much for your time. And I hope you seriously look into this. Thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am, could you sign in, please, for the record? Ms. Smart?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just sign in for the record.
Sorry.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Commissioner. And next up will be Louis Macri. Also wants to speak on Z1.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First, I want to say that I support the amendment number 3 for the cleanup of the Sunshine Waterways, Sunshine Lake. That being said, I'd like to get into the nuts and bolts of the contract. What will be the condition of that lake and waterway at the termination of this amendment? That needs to be answered. Okay, number 2, how much of this $1.1 million that's in Amendment 3 of the contract goes to make up for the money that they already spent? In other words, they have been running on their dime since, let's say, September, all right? How much of the $1.1 million covers what they already spent? So therefore, how much is remaining to work on Sunshine Lake? Number 3, do we know, and this is the county administration, do we know what the condition, what the problem was that caused it? I've been to these sessions for quite a while. I'm not really sure that we know what caused it. Okay, and when you pull the item, I'd like somebody to discuss that. Okay, and finally, what will still be required for Sunshine Lake and the waterway when it's done with this contract? We've talked about clay pipes. We talked about a lot of stuff. So basically, I support spending $1.1 million on Amendment 3. But we need to know what condition it will be in when we're done, okay? Because we may not be done. We may not be done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, Susan Hutt wants to speak on Z1 and Z2. Again, a reminder, 3 minutes. Remain on agenda items only, and address your comments to the entire board, not to specific commissioners.
Let's start with the hardship request from Commissioner Duffy. I hate to have to come up here every time I talk and say something against Commissioner Duffy, but when you have reported assets of over $500,000 and you're requesting a hardship coverage for a $600 bill for legal fees, I don't believe that that's a hardship. If that's a hardship, let's get the hardship program set up for the sewer people. Now, the dredging project. I get the distinct feeling that some of the commissioners do not read their email. They certainly don't respond to their emails. I've received a copy of an email that was sent to the commissioners on the 17th of January from Bill Bigelow, board member of the Tea Party of Punta Gorda, talking about the dredging project. I'd like for all of you to go back to your emails and particularly refer to his recommendations and what he believes needs to be done on page 3 of 4 of his email, and see what that says before you vote to spend another $1 million plus on the dredging project, because you need to make sure that the fix you're signed up for is the fix that's going to fix it. I think we're going to not have it fixed after this period of time, and I think we need to make sure it's fixed. And I agree with everything that Sherry Smart said when she was up here. I'm afraid this is going to become another Love Canal in Florida, similar to Love Canal in New York, just with a different name. So you need to really be careful. I think that also, I think we've seen a lot of examples recently of staff not informing the commissioners fully and unbiased information in order to make good decisions and fully informed decisions. That needs to be considered in what you're going to do about it. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last card I have is Scott Interchak. He wants to speak on Z1 and Z2. And I just remind everyone, if anyone else who would like to address the board on agenda items only, please go over to Caroline, fill out a card. Mr. Interchak, as you know, 3 minutes, and the yellow light will come on when you have 30 seconds, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I want to talk about the Sunshine Lake situation, Mr. Chairman. I think what's Ms. Smart, who I haven't met, but she touched on it a little bit. I don't. Everybody's concerned about the money, and that's obviously an issue. But a little history, would go a long way to understanding the situation. We talked about this last time in my remarks about, people have to be held accountable for their actions. People are suffering because people didn't do their job. And I'd like to talk about how this could happen in this small community for multiple years, that nothing was done. This situation is not an overnight situation. This went on for years and years, and nobody did anything. And so there's a moral aspect to this. These people are suffering. How many times has Joanne come into this room? Michelle back there. These women are sick, Commissioner Duffy, and they've asked for help for years, and nothing was done. Somebody has to be held accountable for this. In my mind, this is clear. If something went seriously wrong at your company, Mr. Chairman, leave aside the moral, the financial aspect, you would probably remove them from office. But what happens if you did an engineering project, sir, and somebody was killed or somebody seriously injured? Okay? We don't know what the effect of these cyanobacteria are going to have long term on these people. If Dr. Constance did something bad in his office, or one of his doctors did something bad, these doctors would be held accountable. To me, I don't understand how we can have a culture in this county where a poisoned lake, gobs of it, where Atkins can tell you he's never seen anything like this, and this can go on for years. So for me, people have to be held responsible, and history tells me that this is the administration. This is Mr. Sandrock's department. Okay, he controls CCU. Well, he doesn't control it. He supervises CCU. He supervises Ms. Kuchar, who I'm sure you're aware, I think is unqualified for that position. And this is part of the problem, is that Mr. Sandrock is not held accountable. The staff is not held accountable. Nobody's removed from office. Nobody's removed from their position. And then what other mistakes are made? I think, Mr. Chairman, one other thing to think about. What other mistakes have been made under Mr. Sandrock's leadership? What other liabilities are we going to face as taxpayers because Mr. Sandrock or Ms. Knowlton is not doing their job? Morally speaking, these people are sick. They need our help, and it's not getting done, sir. So I'd like the board to consider that part of it. Thank you for your time, Mr. Chairman.